We're going to begin the meeting now. We have we're past quorum. Okay, so we're going to do roll call aloud.
Kaina. Here. Dylan.
Here.
Rose. Abeth. Here. Mariah. Here. Melanie. Here. Maggie. Here. Vicky.
Here.
Ema. Here. Sarah. Here. Caroline. Here. Sabrina. Karima. She's on the list. Leonard. Here. Harrison.
Here.
Kevin.
Here.
Hamza.
Okay, yeah, so we're going to start the meeting off just with some words from Kaina regarding like Senate funds and just like the state of our budget.
Okay, so I'm sure some of you remember I presented the budget at the start of our semester in our very first meeting. And at that time, I told you all that each Senate pair has $1,050 to allocate between both of you to events that serve your constituency or events that further the category that you're a senator for. So for example, RBS would host events that are relevant to the business school and they would use those funds to host those events. So all of you have $10,050 split evenly between you and your partner for that Senate category.
1,000.
Oh, 1,050. Sorry. It's 10,000 total. I'm sorry. It's 1,050 for each Senate pair. So I just want to give you an example of a really good use of it. So the RBS senators are the only ones who've used their money so far, and they hosted their RBS Open Forum, I think about 3 weeks ago. And to incentivize RBS students to show up to that open forum with the dean of the business school, they told student organizations from the business school that for showing up, you'd get, if you had enough attendees show up, you'd get a certain monetary prize. So they had a first place and a second place. So one org showed up and brought the most amount of people, so that org got first place, and they won $300 from the Senate Paris funds for that. And then the second place organization won $200 from their attendance. So that's a really good use of it. They hosted a whole event from scratch, the RBS Open Forum, coordinated with the dean of the business school and other administration of the business school, and ensured that enough students showed up by giving them a monetary incentive to show up. So this way they helped student organizations in their constituency. They had the open forum, which is important obviously because as SGA senators, you're the liaison between administration and your students. And basically that was the best use of funds that I've seen for the Senate so far. So I just want to remind you all that you have this money and it's available to you to use. So I know that, for example, we have Prison Reform Week coming up and SGA is having a little bit of trouble funding that because we only have $4,000 left in our SGA account. So, for example, just off the top of my head, CJ senators, diversity senators, at-large, community outreach. If those are events that you and your Senate pair total feel like that's something you want to contribute to, that's an event that you could contribute to. But mostly, we want you to use your funds to create better events on campus instead of just co-sponsoring with other orgs and kind of putting SGA's name on a flyer. So work with your pairs, start coming up with events. For the actual academic centers, try to do something the way RBS did. So for example, SASN, you can have an open forum specific to your school and incentivize it the exact same way RBS did, where you give a monetary prize for first and second place. So that's a way that you can use your funds.
What channels do you want senators to go through to like contact you about this, and what's the process like?
So I know that we talked about this before, but purchase requests take about 10 days to process from Student Life Accounting's end. So if you know that you're having open forum 2 weeks from now, for example, then you should come to me in advance, let me know so I can put in that purchase request so that you can get your money in advance if you're having refreshments for open forum or if you're giving out that monetary prize or whatever else. That way the request can be processed, Dean Williams and Student Life Accounting can approve it in time, and you'd be able to have your money to host that event. So definitely let me know in advance. It's always better. It's a little bit more difficult to process reimbursements because then we have to get like actual paper invoices. So coming to me after the event is a little bit more difficult, but if you come early enough, we can make sure that money's already like available to you.
Also, all of you guys should have read and gone over the Senate Starter Pack. In the Senate Starter Pack, it outlines kind of everything that you need to know about like hosting your event, who to contact, how to get certain spaces. All of that is in the Senate Starter Pack. So if anybody needs that resent, then we can resend it. But like I said, like the entire process is outlined there.
Any questions about the funds available to you, how to use them, anything else?
And yeah, just a reminder, if you want to contribute to Prison Reform Week, yeah, just reach out. And, yeah. So we can move on to the S2 amendment that was brought up. So any of the co-sponsors, you guys can stand up and like put it up on the screen. It's just on another tab.
Okay.
I can explain it.
So for anyone that doesn't know, last semester, before the elections, we tried to pass a resolution / an amendment to be put in the Constitution about the elections and the elections committee. That way it could be a smoother process than it has been in the past.
It was, though, passed as a temporary resolution.
Yes.
Because we needed, it took way too long for those that were here. For those who weren't here, that whole process took like a whole month and a half, maybe 2 months. And then we ended up just passing a temporary resolution just because it was needed for the elections that season.
Yeah.
So it's not a full-on commitment yet. That's why we're trying to pass this as an amendment today, so that we can be ready for the elections this spring.
And the reason that we want to pass it and we put it up for a resolution vote last semester is because so we can have like the process of running to be as smooth and to give the elections committee more power and a less biased view, so they can actually execute and go with the plans that they had and hold people responsible when they run if they do violate either the Constitution or any rules that are put up by that committee.
So this is the outline of what that section looks like on the Constitution, if you haven't seen it already. So as you scroll down, like anything that's not highlighted in neon green is what's written in the Constitution. And then that's one thing we've added so far
Yeah.
that
So
we want to amend.
in Bylaw 701, Article 2, Section 3.c, we added on whether or not there can be a ticket name if the people do want to run on a ticket. So that way it's not just limiting people to no ticket and it's not limiting people to a ticket. They have the chance to do so.
So this would be on the petition. So when you're getting your petitions ready for spring elections, if you're running again, that would appear on the packet.
Yes, and the name has to be approved by the elections committee. So if it can be problematic or a little insensitive or inconsiderate to like a group of people, then they can strike that as a no, and the name won't be approved. And then in section 4, actually no, sorry, in
Bylaw 7.
yeah 702, Article 1, Section 1, we added again like a candidate's ticket name if that's if they do have any, and then any violations that the candidate or the ticket has committed will go on that person's like the name on the ballot.
On the ballot.
Yeah, so let's say like I would run and then be like Sarah Shoba, and then whatever ticket, if I am on a ticket, if someone else on the ticket committed or violated a rule, it would be on there. It would be like that ticket did this, and that. And the reason behind that is you trust people to be on your ticket. If one person does something, it should reflect on everyone else. Just like how, also one thing that was brought up last semester is how tickets help each other up and lift each other up. So you can't take one side and then disregard the other one.
Keeping it a balance.
Yeah, exactly. And then another one, again, the candidate and the ticket violations, if any.
So yeah, on the ballot, basically, it's just going to be, it's going to be separated between ticket violations made from whatever candidate belongs to, and then the candidate's own violations, if they're found guilty.
And the reason that we are putting this, again, like, is to emphasize for next semester, like, whoever wants to run, that we can start thinking from now and create a much smoother process than it was last semester. So I don't know if any of the other sponsors want to say anything, but we'll open up to questions.
Yeah.
Yes, Dylan.
So to clarify, this acknowledges tickets for the first time in the Constitution and gives the Elections Committee its first constitutionally, I guess, given a sanction. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, can you elaborate on the second part a little bit?
Like, so this is the first sanction that is, I guess, constitutionally granted to the Elections Committee, because nothing else is really.
Yeah, as far as I know, there is not. That would be giving the elections committee the power to be able to sanction others based on certain violations or acts that they do.
And is this the same wording as the temporary resolution that was passed before?
Yeah, the only thing that we added from there is,
There's a distinction between
yeah.
ticket violations from
And-
the candidate and then the candidate's own
Yeah.
violations itself. That's the only difference between
Yeah.
the temporary resolution.
So then it's coherent with the rest of it, huh?
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, I just want to know that.
Okay, can you elaborate on that part that you just mentioned?
The candidate violation? The candidate violation?
Yeah, there's a distinction between it.
So the distinction is that we didn't want to like mesh that together. So like if a ticket, if let's say I'm a candidate and I'm running on a ticket with 5, like hypothetical number, 5 other candidates, if that ticket itself made a violation, it would appear on their ballots the day of election. So on the ballot, it'll say the name, the position they're running for, and there's going to be a space in between, you know, the candidate's bio, and it'll say ticket violations, and then it'll list what violation rule they violated based on the rules that the committee set for that election season, and then the candidates, like if the candidate themselves made an infraction, that would also be listed as well. It'll be specified as the ticket made this infraction, the candidate made this infraction.
Floor is open for any kind of further discussion.
So for bylaw 702, would it be possible to also add a statement regarding like, you know, you are not required to vote for every single candidate on the ticket if you just want to support that one candidate? And can you clarify that?
Yeah, so I think that's actually a pretty good point for the elections ballot. So on section 1, it does say that it shall be formatted by the elections committee. It shall include, but it's not limited to. So it gives that opportunity for the elections committee to make that distinction during that election season. So the elections committee can actually make that decision to edit that on the ballots before they get sent out, because it is pretty important. Like I guess it would be a given to let people know, like, hey, like you don't have to necessarily just vote for that one line, but like I guess for them to be as accessible as possible for the ballot. You're right. I think that should be something that the elections committee could consider. But something just for the sake of passing this amendment, to develop that language. I don't think we have the time for it if we're trying to pass it today.
Yeah, Sabrina.
So, sorry, I'm just like confused for a second. So Article 2, all of that information is already in the Constitution. The green stuff is what we edited before, and then.
Yeah, like this part? Yeah, everything that is in like regular font color, that is what's already existing.
Already in the Constitution. The green stuff is what we're editing in based on the last year's temporary resolution that's passed.
Yeah.
Is there any the new stuff is just a distinction?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have any other questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none. Oh, sorry.
I know this probably again falls under the jurisdiction of the elections committee, but I just wanted to bring up, I know they had a rule regarding group financing and like financing for the ticket last year, so it would just be like the larger group you had, the more budget you could put towards that. So I just wanted to reiterate that as an issue.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was something the elections committee did at their own
Yeah.
discretion. They might do it again or change the numbers or not do it.
Yeah, and then like I do believe that they did come up with an equation last semester for the last election cycle, but I don't know how appropriate it would be for the Senate to like restrict on what equation they should use or how much money, because there's so many factors into it. Like I mean, I don't know.
No, seriously though.
And
This is a Constitution, this is a standing document. So if you're gonna put the amount and then it changes over time. So
Yeah, definitely. So that's why I think the way the Constitution is written right now for elections committee, it gives them the autonomy to make rules at the time of the election. You know, feeling the environment, stuff like that. So I think it's best if we leave the elections committee to make those
Some
rules.
leeway, yeah.
Because, you know, for senators, we might in some ways be impartial
Mhm.
if we input something like that.
And we're hoping like this is, it would stand far like longer than when we're out of here. So when like 10 years later, when people do want to run, they can go and like have something that would give the elections committee, hopefully they'll still be on an election committee, but some power to make those distinctions.
So you're assuming like we won't just change the form about 10 years.
Yeah, I don't see this becoming a totalitarian.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so if discussion's done, anyone can put a motion on the floor and vote either way.
Motion to vote on S2 amendment to be added to the Constitution.
Second it?
Okay, one. All in favor? All against? All abstaining? Okay, so yeah, there'll be an amendment added to the Constitution. Put it on the list. Okay. Now we move on to the standing undocumented students resolution. So yeah, the sponsors just pull that up.
Yes. Hi again, everyone. Hope your day's going well. Almost a month ago, we started reading about the resolution, the cases that are being heard by the Supreme Court on the DACA situation and the eligibility for recipients. And we decided as a student government, it was super pivotal for us to stand up for those communities that have been underrepresented, undervoiced, and marginalized, not only across the world, the US, but also around our campus. We, as a student government, find it super important to give them that platform of representation and where they can go and voice their concerns. So we, along with the co-sponsors, reached out to Are You Dreamers to work hopefully on a resolution that would give them an opportunity to come and speak and offer them that support system, that they are being heard by their student government, that they do have people that are voicing their concerns, and we came up with that resolution. I don't know if Ricky can say anything.
Yeah, no, basically nailed it. I think it's very imperative for us as the Student Governing Association that we cover all communities that we represent at Rutgers University, being that we are the most diverse campus. We also have to act upon that as well, and making sure that not only we are diverse, but we're also very inclusive, and we are aware about who is in our surroundings, who may be struggling underneath themselves. So this is why we felt it was very important for us to have this resolution presented to y'all, and hopefully we pass this unanimously. Because we do and we should stand with our undocumented community and make sure that their voices and concerns are being heard by the governing body that we are.
And one disclaimer I want to give is we have the Are You Dreamers e-board here, and we're going to ask them to come up and speak on this resolution and on the struggles that they face, if they do want to share that. But I just want to ask the senators and the e-board to be respectful of each other, and to this is a safe space, but please be aware that we don't know everyone's story. So once we open it up for discussion, to be mindful of that. And I'm going to pass around some flyers that were given to us by Maria from the Office of Undocumented Services, so of the services that they provide and everything that the university has to offer. So if you guys want to come up. Oh, okay. It's okay. If not, then we can just do that. We'll do that from everything that we've discussed. I'm sorry.
The space is yours.
I'm so sorry. Are you guys good? I'm gonna pass out.
Hello, my name is Lisbeth, and I am the president of Are You Dreamers. I have my e-board here if they would like to present themselves.
Hi, I'm Erica Martinez, Are You Dreamers Vice President.
Hey, Moss Niamani, Are You Dreamers Media Coordinator.
Matt Rubin, the Treasurer.
And so for those of you who do not know, Are You Dreamers is a student organization on the North Campus, and our mission is to have provide access to undocumented students, DACA students, TPS students, to have access to higher education. There are some barriers that undocumented students still face at the present moment, simply because we receive in-state tuition right now, that doesn't mean that all the barriers have been lifted. While in campus, I'm pretty sure some of my e-board members and myself personally have struggled with just staying focused on our studies as it should be. We're going to college to earn a degree for our career, and our focus should be on education itself. We shouldn't have to worry about these outside factors that have to impact us and will and then affect our studies. And so while planning this resolution with Ricky and Sarah, we just wanted to let the senators and let SGA know what is happening, what's going to be heard tomorrow at the Supreme Court case, what is the current state, the current stats and numbers of undocumented students, of DACA recipients, and of students on Rutgers campus. And the final part was to just voice our needs and our wants to assure that undocumented students, DACA students, are able to just focus on their studies without having to, again, be worried about all these little factors outside. One thing that I do want to emphasize is, I think it's one of the last ones, but we are seeking help for the Office of Career Development, because we're in this institution to have a diploma. After those 4 years, some students don't qualify for licenses because they are not a U.S. citizen. That's the main question asked. And so it's basically redundant for us to be in this institution. And so with career development services, we can have ways to figure out, like, what can the next steps be? What can we take before we're already out there, before we have already left the institution, and like not be left on our own? What can we do while we are here? What can the Career Development Center do for us while we are students to prepare us to enter the field? I don't know if you guys want to talk more, Erica.
So I just really want to emphasize what's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the day that a lot of DACA recipients and their families have been anxiously awaiting. The Supreme Court will be hearing the cases for DACA. Tomorrow is not the end all be all. From tomorrow begins a very long journey into the spring, which is when we expect a final decision on DACA and whether it will be killed or whether it will keep, or whether they will reopen it for renewals and for new applicants. So when asked the question, a lot of people feel like we can't do anything ourselves. Like, I am a single person and I can't do anything, but there are a lot of things that we can do here in New Jersey as Rutgers Newark students. One of the things that Lisbeth was saying is that there's a lot of question about like post-graduation and what are we going to do with ourselves, right? We're here to be doctors, nurses, lawyers, teachers, whatever it is, right? But as New Jersey law is written right now, you need to be a citizen or you need to have a social security number. A lot of undocumented students don't have either. We're asking for the Rutgers community and the Rutgers leadership to support a campaign that is in the works right now to expand access to occupational licenses. And that's all written here, right? We also want to thank Ricky and Sarah for reaching out to us and giving us a platform to outline this and to really highlight like what we can do here at Rutgers to stand with DACA recipients and TPS recipients.
Okay, thank you guys so much. And then now I'm going to open up to sponsors to read certain sections of the amendment that are important in understanding the amount of students that we have on campus and in the state in general. So I'll start with, there were 526,000 individuals in the state of New Jersey that are undocumented as of 2016, and that was before the election, so before Donald Trump got elected. I don't know if any of the other.
Well, I don't know if anyone else wants to come up.
Yeah, but feel free.
Yeah, totally up to you.
Okay.
Whereas 55,000 individuals in the state of New Jersey applied for DACA as of 2016.
Whereas of the 55,000 DACA receiving immigrants, only 49% of them renewed their DACA after the 2016 elections.
Whereas 51% of DACA eligible applicants did not apply for renewal.
Whereas 749 undocumented students in the state of New Jersey received state aid as of 2018 and through 2019 academic year.
Whereas approximately 328 undocumented individuals are enrolled at Rutgers University according to NJ.com. Whereas we cannot include the number of DACA recipients at Rutgers University due to the fact that they are not identified as DACA recipients, rather as dreamers.
Whereas the phrase dreamer does not classify all undocumented students as DACA recipients.
Whereas Rutgers provides limited personnel services of legal counseling through RECAP. RECAP stands for Rutgers Immigration Assistance Community Project, being a part of the 3 campuses.
Whereas the lack of personnel hinders a proportionate distribution of RECAP services. Therefore, be it hereby resolved that the Rutgers University Newark Student Government Association 1 requests the university to refrain of using the phrase DACA recipients and dreamers, and to begin using the phrase undocumented students to ensure inclusivity.
And then calls upon an orientation for all incoming undocumented students.
Calls upon the expansion and the creation of services for undocumented students, such as the aid of the Career Development Center.
Urges Chancellor Nancy Cantor to publicly stand in support of the expansion of the occupational licenses regardless of immigration status.
Support the allocation of senatorial funds to the annual SGA scholarships.
The last one, support the community of undocumented students indefinitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, please feel free.
So if anyone has any questions, concerns, or wants to add something, this is the perfect time.
As far as the Career and Development Center, when you talk about occupations, do you also want to include internships? For example, like internships that are required for specific areas of study, like within the journalism department or within the political science department, because I know in the journalism department that an internship is required. And some barriers might be obviously Social Security and all of that. So is the Career and Development Center going to provide aid for short-term careers besides long-term careers?
That's actually a really good question, because when we were writing this up, we started thinking about also post-graduation. So when, I don't want to speak on behalf of that because I'm not undocumented, but if you have someone that is, how are they going to get paid afterwards? Because a lot of jobs, you do need a Social Security, so it's aiding the people to graduate, the individuals of that community, and also to have stable jobs where they can get a steady income, and the ways that they can do that. Because that's not really a question that all the students are going to ask. It's not something that is in the back of our head, and that's why that is such a privilege for us. But once you are in that community, how now not only you're afraid of paying your financial aid, but also being in debt and being in loans and having that, but how are you going to pay afterwards? So having that resource for all the students in the community to go and seek help and ask questions, and they can get guidance from there. Another thing that I do want to clarify is with the SGA scholarship. So I know every single year we try to do a scholarship of whatever is left from the SGA money and the senatorial funds. And so hopefully at the end of the year in the spring semester, if we do that, then we can have, once the applicants are coming in, we can have a certain number of applications set to be given out to undocumented students if they do sign up. We did not want to put in a number just because people might sign up, people might not, and we did not want to restrict that. And then the orientation, so just like how they do SOARs and they do the EOF orientation, we were thinking of hopefully working with all the departments that are involved in setting these up, like Office of Academic Services of each school, registrar, financial aid, like senior administration, the representatives from each school, to have something, an orientation, so when students go in, they're not overwhelmed by like, oh my God, how am I gonna pay for this? How am I supposed to work and do all of these things at the same time? But they're offered these, like it's an
I don't know if you guys already tried maybe like reaching out and utilizing the Rutgers Law School, because I know they have a minority student program where they provide counseling and pretty much advice on like postgraduate and all of that. So is that like something that's already been done, or?
I mean, I don't know, but don't you have to be enrolled in a law school to be a part of that minority?
Well, like not like, so maybe like utilizing like their resources, almost like like getting guidance from them in a way, and like if you want to like jumpstart something like here on campus, kind of like having someone to relate back to, since they already have a pretty successful program in the law school for it.
Yeah, I'm still not sure. I mean, we do have the Office of Undocumented Services, Maria and Williams. I know you already, so we'll get to that. But I don't know if you want to take on that question.
I can speak.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Maria Zamora. I am the program manager for the Office of Undocumented Student Services. And essentially what you're talking about, resources and jumpstarting, that's essentially what my office does. I do one-on-one support, anywhere from navigating financial aid, admissions, to career development. So essentially the office is here for all undocumented students and students that are from mixed status families. So we're fairly new, but that's why we're doing this resolution, just to let not only SGA know that there is an office for undocumented students, but also as student leaders to inform the student body that there is this office. As we mentioned before, there was about 300 students that identify as undocumented, and it's how do we target and reach all these students so they can be as successful once they graduate, rather than coming in not knowing, and their senior year they're not aware of what they could qualify for or the potential resources that they had. So essentially, make sure that you tell everyone about the office, and we're located in Conklin Hall, and you should have the pamphlet there as well about the resources that we have and our email address.
I guess I just had actually a question, but I think I actually figured out. Occupational licenses being that of vocation and not the driver's licenses.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah, like to go on law school, med school, PA school, like to have that professional licenses rather than like it.
Yeah, so I would just, I mean, I think my thought about the portion of the resolution that hereby resolved, are you in SGA, and then the number 4, which is urging Chancellor Cantor. I mean, at the end of the day, this is something that impacts more than just Rutgers Newark. And so I guess my only thought would be, is that something that would be to the urging of our chancellor, or is that really to the urging of the university as a whole? So that's feedback, because I think it kind of does direct it to someone who, you know, the chancellor has been very vocal about supporting our undocumented student community, and has actually, you know, written opinion pieces in collaboration with students to advocate. And so I think it's just important to think about it from like a broader perspective, because our chancellor is someone who does support that. So I don't know if that's something that can maybe be brought.
Okay, so what I was going to say was that, yes, we understand that Chancellor Cantor is a very outspoken when it comes to the undocumented students community. And this is why it's even more important that we want to urge her to publicly stand, because of her credibility when it comes to coming out for the undocumented students community. I think that her voice brings a lot of people's attention when it comes to making announcements of some sorts of degree to like stuff like this. So that's why we want her to speak out, speak in support of the occupational driver's licenses. I don't know if Sarah, you wanted to add something.
You checked all the boxes.
But yeah, so we think that's really important for her to being so vocal and in support for the undocumented community. We feel that I think it's important for her to speak in this scenario as well.
Yes, Kevin.
I wanted to ask you, like, why personally you feel like the terms DACA recipients and dreamers are not appropriate? Because I think those terms represent students who want to become U.S. citizens, and I think that's a very good thing. So why do you think those terms are not appropriate for the university to use?
I'll take that because we spoke about it amongst ourselves. So when you say the term DACA recipients is totally fine, right? But when you say DACA recipients, you're also not taking into consideration. So one of the numbers right now that we know is that the youngest DACA recipient is 17 years old, right? And younger than that, they're still high school students, right? That are 14, 15, 16, right? That are undocumented but aren't eligible for DACA because U.S. Immigration Services isn't taking any new applications, right? So DACA recipients is actually becoming a smaller pool of people, whereas the number of undocumented students is growing, right? So we want to include those people because those are the high school students that are applying now to Rutgers North. And furthermore, dreamers. It was a term that was used for a really long time, but now even people who are undocumented like myself are starting to stop using that term because it reinforces a narrative of the good immigrant and the bad immigrant, right? Just because I'm a dreamer and my story is being uplifted by the media, right? But that negates my mom, right? And my mom's experience and my mom's will to come to this country for a better life for us, right? So I think undocumented students is just a catch-all term that doesn't push that agenda of a good immigrant, right? We're talking about the undocumented community as a whole.
I have something kind of that went along what you were saying, Ricky, about Chancellor Nancy Cantor. I feel like if we're just going to keep it at urges Chancellor Nancy Cantor to publicly stand in support of the the rest of that sentence, then it kind of makes it seem as if she hasn't. So maybe if we add something, I don't know if this is something, but if we can add urges Chancellor Nancy Cantor to continue supporting the Dreamers and to publicly stand in support. I don't know if that's something you might want to add because Dean Williams kind of mentioned, Chancellor Cantor has stood for them and she has advocated a lot. So I don't know, this kind of seems like you're saying that she hasn't, and I know you're saying that she has, and you even everybody agrees that she has done a lot. But maybe if we just add that small statement in there, it could make a difference. I don't know if you're opposed to it or.
Ricky, if I may.
Yeah.
So I would suggest highly to put calls upon Chancellor Nancy Cantor and Rutgers University Newark to continue.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
I think we have to. So if anyone wants to motion to add that comment.
I mean, so we haven't passed it yet, so you don't necessarily need to vote to switch it. This is right. We're working on the document to pass, so you don't need to vote to switch any language in it.
Urges Chancellor Nancy Cantor and Rutgers University Newark to continue their support for undocumented students and publicly stand in support of the expansion of occupational licenses regardless of immigration status.
Yeah, I like it.
Any other comments, suggestions, concerns? No?
Just have discussion, motion to vote.
Motion to vote on your resolution to stand in solidarity with undocumented students.
Second.
1 moment.
All in favor? All against? All abstained? All right, yeah, so we passed the resolution. Maybe we can do like something on Instagram and our social media, like putting out the wording. Yeah, all right. Okay, now moving on to prison reform week.
Yeah, so, you guys secure major courtroom. Yeah, so we were able to secure, major courtroom in the law school holds 110 people. So a little bit less than what we wanted, but like everything was booked with our luck. We were looking at the atrium, and then we were looking at somewhere in Express Newark, and then we were looking at a bunch of different places, and the only place that wasn't booked was the Baker courtroom in the law school, as well as 15 Washington Street. But with 15 Washington Street, that would have added a lot of additional costs. So we decided to just go with the Baker courtroom. The Eventbrite is basically made. I just have to send everything to Dean Williams to approve. We have a flyer made and everything. So this week we're definitely going to be pushing it as much as we can once everything is approved. So I need all your help with that. As well as with you guys just pushing it to different professors, having them possibly offer extra credit opportunities to students. But we do need students to RSVP through the Eventbrite because it's limited room. And yeah, I think that's basically it in regards to prison reform. Does anybody have questions or concerns or anything about it?
Just a reminder, if you want to contribute financially and or, with your person, reach out. Okay, yeah. So that is next week.
That is the 21st.
21st,
So
20th, yeah, okay.
Not
6 to 9.
Yes.
Okay.
And everybody should be there. All senators should be there. If you can't be there, please let me know. But I do need help with like registration, check-in, and all that. So if everybody could be there by like 5:30, that'd be good. Like I said, if you can't be there, please reach out to me before and let me know.
Yeah. So the next thing we have.
Oh, actually, one more thing. Sorry. So we wanted to offer SOIS points for attendance. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody's fine with that, as well as like what your opinion is. So my idea was to offer SOIS points for all events, so Monday through Thursday, up to 20 points per person, which would equal about 80 points per org if they were to have the maximum attendance for each event. So there's, like we talked about before, Monday through Wednesday, the showing of a documentary. Thursday is just the event with Dr. Yusuf Sanam. We could possibly incentivize that last event more than the other events. So if you wanted to have a higher maximum or whatever it is, I just wanted to get kind of a feel of what you all were thinking in regards to that, especially SYS. 20 per org per day. So 4, no, so yeah, it's like 4 per person that attends, up to 5 people, that makes 20 points. Yeah.
But just to be sure, so for per event, so like let's say I go to the movies and I bring 5 people from my org, am I able to commute points from those movies and then the Yusuf Salam event?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be each event, because we're trying to incentivize the entire week, not just one single event. And then I'm also, so is everybody good with that? Do you guys think that we should offer more of incentive for the Yusuf Salam event? Or?
Bless you.
Personally, I think we should maybe do if we're gonna do it, offer for 4 days. I think that's kind of like a lot. We've never done something like that before, so maybe if we're going to incentivize like the documentary days, the first 3 days, maybe make it less. Just that, like, if you do bring out your org, you can get like 80 points from it, and that's kind of like, I think that's just like too much, So maybe if we're gonna like reduce it for the first 3.
So what do you suggest we reduce it
maybe like instead of 4 points per person, capped at 5 people, maybe 2 points per person. That's all up to you guys. I mean, if you want to incentivize the first 3 days in addition to the big event.
Okay, so you're saying 2 points per person for the small, it's still
For the
capped
first
at
3
20?
days, yeah, well, capped at 10.
Capped at 10.
Right. I just think like I don't know, maybe it's too much to offer. Like that's I don't think SGA's ever like offered that many points.
Yeah, no, that's why I brought it, because I know it's a lot, and I don't know if you guys.
I mean, not to like, because I agree. I think it should be brought down for the first 3 days. But like technically, OSLL offers a lot of points right there up for grabs that the student orgs don't take advantage of. So you can say the same with that as well. Like there's like hundreds of points that you can take if everyone goes to all those OSLL events. So just saying it out there.
Okay, yeah.
But when, it's not like all these orgs are gonna get all these SYS points and we're giving out like a lot of money, because in the end, when we prepare tiers, it's prepared on a curve anyway. So even if orgs are going to all these events, it's still on a curve, so it doesn't really matter how many
I'm just saying it out loud. I'm not saying.
I get that. I'm just saying it's not affecting the amount of money they get, because let's say everyone suddenly has 1,000 more points than they've ever had before, then the curve just moves up 1,000 points. Like it's not really.
Yeah, I say that. It's not going to directly change how much money an org gets, but not all orgs go to this. And I think like if it's still too high, orgs that don't have events can just go to this and kind of like outweigh orgs that do events and like spend money. So I just like I think it just needs to be like balanced somehow, however you guys want.
Yeah, sort of in agreement with what you're saying. Although like it is like recurved, right? Since there is the issue like for the final event, there is that limited attendance, right? And then also like normally for OSSL, like it's 4 points per person, but it's not like successive for every single day of the week there's an event, right? So 80 points like altogether is a good amount in terms of SLIS points, at least from what I understand of the system. So maybe we could do like maybe we can keep the net amount of points the same, but like decrease the amount of points per person to try and get organizations to increase attendance. Like I believe you mentioned having it capped at 10 people, but 2 points per person.
10 points, yeah. I mean, I don't know the way you want to do. You could do it where you could make it like where each day still has an individual cap, or you could make a cap for the total all 4 days. I mean, that's just up to whatever.
I think that's a good idea if we cap it, so we can keep the cap at 20, but have like Monday through Wednesday 2 points per person, and then Thursday 4 points per person.
But yeah, okay. I mean because that reduces the potential from 80 points to 20, and then you just go whenever. I mean, yeah.
Oh no. That's not what you're saying.
What are you saying?
So it's still potential for 80 points, but if you have to bring out 10 people for the event to get the full 20 points.
Oh, I see. I don't foresee like organizations all bring like 10.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay. Yeah, we don't.
I don't know if maps exists.
Yeah.
If we're gonna be incentivizing this, and there's already because the Baker courtroom only holds 110 people, and between us, that's already like 20. So should we do the other room downstairs that holds 200? Because
So there was that option.
if we're incentivizing this much and say everyone does bring 10 people, like that's the room's already filled.
So that's for the Monday through Wednesday event. Those aren't in Baker, but then
But I mean, regardless, even if we are incentivizing the most
agree.
points, then more people would come to the last event, and there's only like 80 spaces available.
So there was a room downstairs. Do you want to talk about the room downstairs?
Yeah, so there's a classroom downstairs. It's in the bottom floor. It's classroom 70. It's a classroom. There's nothing great about it. It just holds more people, and that was the only other thing available.
I would say it's better to have a packed room, because that room is huge.
Yeah.
It fits like
300.
300 or like 200.
I was told it's 200.
It is huge.
I don't think it's more than 200.
So I would think it's better to have a smaller room. That way, like you don't need sound systems or like a microphone, and it would look more packed, and it would be like a more intimate setting. But
Maybe perhaps is like I know just for head count, can we possibly set up like an Eventbrite?
Yeah, so we are. So that's
Okay,
that's
perfect.
what I was gonna
Okay.
say. We can kind of start with the Eventbrite, see how many RCPs we get. If we need to move it, then.
Okay.
And you might have mentioned this, but is this open to outside?
Yes.
Okay. Oh.
Well, this is the thing, is like if you want us to like send it
And
to
if
the
that's the
whole school of
case-
criminal justice, like have professors, offer, do certain things to incentivize like CJ majors to come, then I mean, I just feel like that's gonna be a lot of people.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility that you can reserve both rooms just so that there's no risk
Can
of
go
losing
this
it?
afternoon and see.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll let me, but maybe.
And if anything, I mean, there's other classrooms as well, so if we're gonna do a classroom, we could open it up to like somewhere, like Engelhard 100 is another classroom setting if we
Is there
wanted
food
to.
being offered though?
Huh?
Is there any refreshments or food being offered?
Yeah, there's gonna be refreshments.
So then it would probably be better to do it at the law school, just because of flexibility of food rules in comparison to the academic buildings. You don't want to run the risk of getting fined or anything like that. So just leave it out there.
Okay. Yeah. So do you want to go today and then just let me know? Okay. Perfect.
Can we like restate what we're doing?
Okay. So 2 points. So the SOIS point incentive, we're doing 2 points per person, capped at 20 points. For Monday through Wednesday. So if they bring 10 people, they get the full 20 points. Then for Thursday, we're doing 4 points per person, capped at 20 as well. And that we're gonna try to get the other room that fits 200, because Baker courtroom only fits 110. And then we have the Eventbrite, we have the flyer, and then Ricky and Hema, if you guys can make also. So we have a flyer that's just kind of outlining the entire week of events and what's going on. I'm also going to print that onto like postcards so we can hand out. And then if you guys can make just the specific use of sound flyer, that can also go out with to the CJ schools, to the professors and the dean, and however else we want to market that. I'm also going to be sending it to Dean Williams, and I think communications is also going to send that out university-wide. So that'll be an email that goes out to all students. Other than that, and then Dylan is making an email to go out to student orgs regarding it. So that'll include the SOIS incentives and all of that. So that's kind of everything that's going around with the event. In regards to like food, refreshments, all of that, we're gonna have Monday through Wednesday, we're just gonna try to have like popcorn and like refreshments, some light drinks and whatnot. And then the Thursday event is gonna be a little bit more, but also like we're not doing like a full dinner. So we're gonna have like finger foods or like whatever it is that'll just go with the event. But yeah, refreshments also. Yeah.
And just to reiterate, for Monday through Wednesday, the cap is at 20 points per day.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll make a spreadsheet, columns for all 4 days, and keep track of the names and organizations and just do one file.
And if you can also make a spreadsheet for volunteers, because we do need help, like at least like 2 senators per event. I personally have 6 to 9 Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm gonna skip my Thursday 6 to 9, but like, but off record. Off record, but it's okay. Anyways, my Tuesday I'm probably not going to, so I'm gonna need people there as well for that. But yeah, so if you can make that and send it out for Senate volunteers. But that's it.
Okay, if that's all, we can move on. Okay, so Harrison brought up to me, that we can discuss homelessness and hunger awareness week tabling. So you can just begin talking about that.
So, as some of you may know, Homelessness and Hunger Awareness Week is going to be next week as well, right? From basically the 16th to the 24th. So I understand that we have events going on during the nights, but I was hoping that SGA might be able to table during the free period on Wednesday or something along the like. I'm also talking to Brian Conway about setting up an event for that Monday, which might require volunteering shifts as well. So just wanted to get the word out about that. So I'll be making a Google Drive spreadsheet, and I'll email that to you, Dylan, if you could send that along to people.
Yeah, I'll send it out with the other. Just let me know.
All right, thank you.
So elections, we can go through maybe an update of elections, and I just wanted to state, we have a vacant at-large seat now, so we can nominate. Priority given to Harrison, so if you want to find someone, anyone can nominate, and then the Senate can appoint. And after the elections, we can appoint, nominate and appoint any of the seats that are left vacant, because otherwise they'll be left vacant until the next fall.
Quick question about the senator at large nomination. So if I nominate them, like, is that so they run in the elections?
No, so you would basically send me their info and their ID, clear them, and see if like I can get the resume and then I'll send it out to everyone, just like judicial council basically, and then the Senate will vote, and then once it's voted in, then that's it, then they're in.
Thank you.
And other people can nominate as well, so if anybody else knows someone that they think would fit the role well, you can nominate them and do the same thing. So we still have the judicial council seat. One of them is mine, so one of them is my fault. That we have 2 seats open. One of them is my nomination, and one of them is a Senate nomination. So if anybody has a Senate nomination, if you guys can bring them for next week, because we really do need to fill that judicial council. And then I'll bring mine for next week as well, hopefully.
Our elections like going?
Oh yeah. Okay, so election packets were submitted. We met with the candidates. It went through all the rules for elections. Essentially the whole elections committee packet, and everything's been done. The ballot's been created. It's just a matter of sending out the ballot, which we were supposed to send out last week on Wednesday, but we're having trouble locating the ballot. So this is something Dean Williams and I are working on. Yeah, it's weird because Dean Williams needs to find the link, like, to send out to the student body. So we talked about it on Wednesday. I'm gonna follow up with her after this meeting, but we're just waiting on the link to be available so we can send it out to the student body. But everything's pretty much done aside from actual voting.
Okay. Yeah, so we can move on to talk about University Senate, like any kind of updates that happen there.
Yeah, so it's this weekend, this Friday, it's gonna be here in Newark. We're gonna have Senate Student Caucus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who's gonna chair it, that's something that we're trying to come up with, and the actual University Senate is probably gonna be from like 1 to 3, so if anyone is on campus by that time, go to the Essex room, it's gonna be there, it's pretty fun. Yeah.
That's on our campus.
Yeah, so somebody from our Senate would chair it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so basically, whenever they visit the campuses, yeah, it's pretty fun how they have it. But
Wait, when is it? I'm sorry.
It's Friday.
it's this Friday. So yeah, so the chairing part is during the student caucus.
Yeah.
Here, let me sit down real quick. So it's during student caucus, and with every student caucus, whoever's the student leader of that campus, they usually just do the rundown and talk about what was discussed on each committee, how the students should vote on. Usually the student caucus likes to vote in a block, so it's either a full yes or a full no. And so so we basically run the whole meeting, and last time around, since we weren't prepared, we had to give it to the New Brunswick one. It was pretty embarrassing, a little bit secondhand embarrassment, because we weren't prepared. So we definitely want to be prepared this time. So anyone who's a part of the University Senate, if y'all can send to Sarah or I availabilities of when you have it between now and before Friday, so that we can discuss who's going to run the meeting and how we're going to set it up, because in the end we are the hosts, so we have to treat them as such, as guests. So yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this Friday, Essex room, midday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and if anyone's free between 1 and 3, you want to see what University Senate's all about, stop by. You don't have to stay the whole time, but you get to see how policies runs through in that scenario. It's wild. Let's just say that.
Okay, so then we can move on to any Senate updates that you have, if any, and we can just run through.
I have a lot. I actually have a question. So we are doing an information session with the Executive Soft Convention Committee with Ken O'Brien and PBA this Thursday. But I was wondering, would that be able to, get SLIS points? Because if so we can start promoting the flyer with that. I don't know who's gonna answer that question. I'm looking at everyone.
wait, sorry, can you repeat the question?
So we have an information session this Thursday with BBVA Title IX about like interpersonal violence and resources on campus. So I was wondering if we would be able to have that over SOIS, but I don't know like the eligibility for the rest of the SOIs.
Is it open to, it's open to everybody?
Everybody, yeah. And then I was thinking like incentives for students, and then as like BBVA they have merch, and they would be able to give out or we have food. I don't really know if that's an incentive, but like it kind of is. And I think it's a little too late to reach out to Brian Conway about like the cards thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to SOIS points for that. I mean, these are, so the thing is like, we can offer like SOIS points because these are important like events for people to attend, like something like this. Like people, students should be going to it, especially students who are part of organizations who have like positions of power or whatever it is.
And
they
like,
should be attending.
yeah, and that's the reason behind it, behind this information session and the training that we're gonna have. Which is another thing is, if you're going to be representing students and be a leader, then understand like the different aspects of our community and how to stand up for violence of such like interpersonal violence. The other thing is we've been working with BBB and setting up a time for us to be trained for we speak training, I think. As of right now, we were trying to have it this week, but I don't think that's gonna work, so we're aiming for December 7th. Like last year, it was offered for SOIS points, so we're gonna do the same process again. I really hope like if people on SGA can go, please do, because it is super important. Like we're expecting student leaders to be trained, but then I'm not even trained, so we're trying to have that standard of our leaders. If you can, let me know so I can send the names out to Taylor from BBA and hopefully set everything up.
Do you want to do the standard amount of points?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. 4 per person,
Four
cap
per
at 20.
person, up to 20. So
Okay.
you can have
If you send me like all the info about the event, then I'll include it in the email about Prison Week as another SOS opportunity.
Okay, perfect. I mean, the flyer is ready. We've already launched it on Instagram. We'll just update it as soon as we
Let someone else speak.
What's the speaker?
Ricky's got his hand kind of.
Yeah, but I was just waiting if anyone else had it. Okay. Nothing Senate related in regards to media, but just an idea that popped out like 2 weeks ago, but it died off. But now we're gonna bring it up again officially on the record. So we brought up the idea with Hamza, I think, for a Secret Santa. You know, to like do something more like. You know, some type of, I guess, like unity project, I guess, within the SGA, so that we could break the ice and stuff like that if we haven't already. But I think it would be fun to do a Secret Santa amongst us. And so I think right now would be probably the appropriate time to start, so that we can start, planning. I don't know, profiles, so that we can figure out like,
And
what
then
to
do
get.
like a holiday party after?
Yeah. So I don't know. I know this, but there's this website that randomly draws names.
Yeah.
So let's say, so we'll go, you create your own wish list, or like there's a choice where you like, if I want this, this, and that, and then the person, whoever like is assigned to you, can randomly like get to you, and then be like, okay, well Maggie wants that. Or I can do the random, and I'm like, no, I see all of this, I'm getting you that. So if you go that way, you sign up with your link, with your email name, and then you do your wish list.
I really like watching.
And we could do a holiday party.
Yeah.
A holiday party like our last Monday meeting.
We could do it.
And we can invite students to come take pictures as well. That's a cute idea. Yeah, we could do it. And then, but we definitely need to limit because I don't have money.
No, we could definitely set the limit.
Yeah, we can make a budget like $25.
Yeah, 25.
You can be extra and go extra.
That's cute. Does someone want to organize it?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm down for organizing.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
So do we all just sign up on the website?
Wait, Sarah, you have the link. Sarah, you have the link. You want to organize it?
Yeah.
So sorry, do we all have to individually sign up on it, right?
I'll send everyone the link and you can sign up in there.
Okay.
Real quick, can we get updates from the academic senators on your open forums?
Yeah, we've been trying to like have that forum, but the deans like they're not open to it. But I guess we just need to have one between me and Sarah.
Yeah.
And the public.
I think we should get the dean to be
We
on
were
board
really
with it.
trying to push.
Like 2 meetings.
Yeah, we met with the for like
What did they say?
twice. So one.
They both said something?
Yeah. It was actually pretty funny because when we met with Dean Pinto, she was like, I mean, yeah, yes. She was like, let's just plan, find a day. And then we met with Dean Gray and they were like, no, because we are basically, like, it's a big
They didn't want to get
school.
attacked by
Yeah, and they wanted the complaints, I guess, or suggestions, or whatever it is, the feedback to be filtered out through us.
We can filter it.
And then we'll bring it back.
No, so the way it works, no, we're having an open forum.
Yeah.
But the way it works is that we will filter the questions that are coming in. Like, it'll be filtered through you guys.
Yeah.
So it'll be filtered, like, a number will be put up or something like that. So I can reach out to them as well because that's really weird.
Yeah, and then honestly, like, we did plan on doing that, but then everything started like going downhill, so we just didn't have time to plan it, but there was an idea of like, we can do one this semester, just me and Carol, and see how it goes, and then next semester we'll plan something out.
Okay, that's fine. It's better to do something than nothing. But do you want? I can reach out to them as well because that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
CJ.
So, yeah, we had to mention it's already written to the open forum. We talked to her about, so we have, or like we mentioned with the clothing. So now she wants us to propose to her a budget plan as to how we're gonna go about the clothing for the school criminal justice. So that we're doing that, we're having a design challenge. So we could use our incentive funds for the like monetary incentives.
Design challenge
For the actual gear, for the apparel. So students can actually put their input into what gear they want or what design they want. And the main thing that she wanted us to like focus on. Oh, and then also we were talking to her about creating more open spaces in the school criminal justice because we're about to remodel. Yeah, so we do have 2 lounges actually in criminal justice. So she was thinking and like asking us how students, like what would students like in that building, essentially like as to seating wise, tables, couches. You know. It's just a little difficult because she's not like, she's the acting dean now, but she doesn't like officially have the yeah, so she can't like do that much with it. Like she wants all of our input, like will help us, but she doesn't actually have the full support to do everything, I guess.
No problem, yeah, but, so you're gonna bring it up to her about the open forum?
Yeah, she
Okay,
was
and then-
cool with, we briefly mentioned it to her, we could have planned a date, but I mean, she's very, eager to know the students' input on everything, so I just don't see it to be a problem.
Okay, so did you wanna plan it for this semester?
Yeah, or ideally we wanna try to, yeah,
Okay,
maybe
so once,
next time.
so once you have a date for it, that's fine. Once you have a date for it, just reach out to Hamza and he'll try to get a space for you all. We'll look at different options. Or actually, you guys have CJ,
Yeah,
so you
we're
can
doing
space
that
there.
there.
Yeah. But if you guys need food or anything like that, just reach out to Hamza. And then special area, if you guys can give like a brief. And RBS, you guys already had your open forum. Is there
Yeah,
anything
and
else
then
going
we're
on?
co-sponsoring an event with Ethics.
Ethics?
Yeah.
What event?
It's on Wednesday. Yeah, Ethics in Corporate America.
Okay. Nice.
I actually have an update. So I met with Title IX last week, and we're working with the prosecutor's office of Essex County to bring, to have an information session also about interpersonal violence, but also on like the county level. So we're looking at that being the beginning of next semester, sometime in January. I should have a date by the end of this month, so once I do, I'll send it out there.
And real quick, just don't feel rushed to do the open forum like this semester. Make sure that if you're gonna do it, that you're gonna have good attendance, that a lot of people in your school are gonna know about it, and all of that. So if you feel that next semester would be a better time, beginning of next semester might be a better time, then definitely do it then. Don't feel rushed to just throw it in sometime at the end of the semester. And then special area centers. I know we only have like 3 minutes left, but if you guys can give like a brief update about it.
RU Air is going to be having their World Culture Tour event on December 3rd. So that's something that I think the Diversity Affairs Senator is going to co-sponsor. I just wanted to go over more details because we're going to be having a meeting later this week to go over everything. So once that is set in stone, then
that's something that we're interested in co-sponsoring.
We're basically trying to finalize events and shore up anything else for next week. So Brian Ray from Sora already reached out to Ricky, and Sora will be providing the flyers. They're in the process of making them right now. They're just on board the new media center. But they're going to be having an event from 6 to 9 on Monday the 18th, where they have several community speakers from the city of Newark, including Bon Jovi's wife, who are going to be talking about food insecurity. So Bon Jovi's wife is going to be there. You guys should go. And we're also going to be trying doing donations, so I'm going to be meeting with Ellen later today, Brian at some point this week, and we have the Hunger Task Force meeting on Wednesday. So we're just putting everything together for next week. Yeah. I'll contact you for like booking.
No, actually at diversity center.
Oh.
Yeah, we're together.
So no real updates, just me and Maggie, the speaker that we were wanting to come to families in the country should be back, I think, the end of this week or next week.
Yeah.
So that's when we'll like meet up and decide how we're going to this week.